Hello there, one and all, and welcome to episode 284 of Love at First Scent with me, Persolaise, coming to you live from YouTube. As always, thank you very much for tuning in. Whether you're watching live or you're watching the recording, you are very welcome, and I'm going to glance down now to see who gets the first comment. The first comment goes to Genie404, who says, "Hey, Mr. P, hey, chat, hope everyone is well." Very, very kind of you to tune in and to take the time to write and get this out of the way as well. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please do consider doing so. And if you would like to find out how you can support my work, you should find a link to Ko-fi in the video description below. I should also say that today by my side, I don't have flowers. Today we are joined by the Burj Khalifa Lego style, because this is my way of saying thank you to the very special person, the very special young person who helped me build the Burj Khalifa, this particular one. So I thought I would feature the Burj in the latest video. You know who you are. Thank you very much for all your help. I couldn't have done it without you. We built the tallest building in the world together. Okay, the Burj Khalifa doesn't have anything to do with today's video. Well, actually, you know what? I take that back. It does kind of. This was not planned, but it does have something to do with the video. Because in today's video, which is a top 10, so we're going to be together for the next hour or so, probably just under an hour, presenting a top 10. In today's video, we're going to be talking about summer perfumes, but not in the way that we normally might. And this is an idea that came from one of you. A couple of weeks ago, you may remember, I asked for ideas for top 10 compilation videos. And I think a few of you said, how about doing an alternative take on summer perfumes? So not the sorts of scents that we would normally associate with summer. So that is exactly what we're doing today. We're calling it Alternative Perfumes for Summer 2022. A more sort of, in inverted commas, normal summer video will be heading towards you, heading your way in the next couple of weeks. But this is the sort of alternative one. This is the summer scents that you don't expect to be summer scents. Top 10. Holly is here as well, and Shan says, "Oh, the view from the topmost floor makes me instantly dizzy, but what a breathtaking view it is. I guess you mean the Burj." Yes, and have you been to the very top? Because I haven't. I've only been to the to the bit that you're able to go to before they also opened up a higher floor to the public. So I forget what floor it was, but yes, unbelievable view. Good evening from India, says Prashant, and Anak says hi from Austin. You are very, very welcome. Okay, so what were the parameters for today's episode? Obviously, there had to be 10 cents. Oh, I've just noticed a spider scuttling along the... Thank goodness I'm not an arachnophobe, but there we are. The spider wants to join in. Hello from Puerto Rico, says Abdel Sarkis. You're very, very welcome. The parameters were obviously choosing 10 perfumes, but it was more a question of what to avoid. So the most obvious thing to avoid was very, very overtly, explicitly citrusy scents. Now I'm looking at the 10 that I've got lined up here waiting for you, and clearly some of them will feature citrus notes in some way, but they are not, none of them is what we would call a traditional, stereotypical, citrusy summer cologne. So those are the sorts of things you're not going to see in this video. Alternative perfumes or alternative summers, says Kim. No, alternative perfumes for summer. Okay, you with me? But then I found myself thinking, okay, so if we don't do citruses, then maybe we could do greens. And then I thought, well, no, greens are kind of pretty obvious as well. And I found myself thinking of lots and lots of, again, very, very kind of typically, predictably green perfumes. And I thought, no, let's make it a little bit more interesting. So what we haven't got is overt citruses, and we also haven't got overt greens. We've had enough alternative summers at this point to last a lifetime, says Holly. I could not agree more. And Andy says, I found Koros to be the ultimate alternative summer perfume. Most seem to feel that it's a winter scent, though. See, okay, well, that's quite a nice way into what I was going to say. The thing that we need to say from the top, I suppose, and regular viewers will know my line on this, is that any notion of seasonal scents to my mind, it just goes straight out the window. Okay, you wear what you like at any particular time of year. So actually, you could just stop this video now or pause it and just wear whatever the heck you want to wear. But it has been said by several people in the past that the kinds of scents that we normally associate with winter could actually work extremely well in summer. So balsamic, resinous scents, because our skins are, in most parts of the world, I think, warmer, hotter during the summer. And so those sorts of heavier materials, the balsams and the resins, burn and develop in a particularly attractive way when our skins are hot. So we may find things like that. But then I thought, okay, but I don't want to also go down the route of presenting things that are really, really heavy and overtly balsamic and resinous, because I thought, well, that would just be like making a winter list and thinking it's very clever to just change the word winter for summer and going, hey, presto, you know, here's a winter list, but I'm presenting it to you as a summer list. So I guess what these have in common is that they have all got something kind of outdoorsy about them. These are very loose descriptions, okay? Outdoorsy, lots and lots of room to breathe. They've got some kind of a life-affirming, optimistic quality about them. They're full of sort of vim and vigor. I was going to say zesty, but they're not zesty because they're not citrusy. And then maybe as we go along, you may be able to think of something else that they have in common. Some of them have got quirky twists to them, but not all of them. I don't think it would be right to say that they're all quirky, although looking at them now, they I suppose they do have a kind of eccentric quality to them, or maybe a larger than life quality to them. So though that's the sort of very, 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 very loose theme that binds them together in this, under the guise of trying to come up with a sort of top 10 alternatives for summer 2022. So no Creed in the top 10, says Paolo. What do you think? Shamali says Noir Épice in humid, hot Malaysia works a treat for me. See, that's, yeah, because that's actually quite beautifully clean and streamlined in a way, isn't it? I smell so much clove, and it feels both warming and chilly at the same time, like the feeling of biting into a clove. Amazing. Love that description. And Vlasta says, recently tried Killian Angel's share on a hot night in Italy. Wasn't as bad as I expected. Okay. A fragrance I rarely see, says Pedrelicamosa in top 10 summer fragrances, is Tower's L'air du désert marocain, even though the name suggests heat. There you go. Absolutely. And L'air is a fantastic example because that is an amber composition, of course, as you know, and those sorts of scents bloom beautifully on hot skin. But I think we need to start. So no citruses, no overt greens. And I think we should start with the one that's in the thumbnail, because you know that it's coming. And another little teaser for you. I looked at the list, and again, this wasn't pre-planned how this happened, but there are no scents on this list from the 20th century. But not all of the scents on the list are from the 21st century. So I'll let you ponder that one, see what you think that means. Right, but this is a fairly new one. In fact, I think it is the newest one on the list. Yes, it is. So let's start at the newest one. From 2020, from Comme des Garcons, this is Rouge, as you can see here, from its beautifully scarlet bottle. Keep the comments coming, by the way, folks. Even though I may not read all of them out loud here, I do read them all later, and I try to answer any questions that come up. So as I say, almost 2 years old, this one. Rouge, I think it didn't really go on wide release until last year, so most people didn't really discover it until last year. I have yet to find out who the perfumer is behind it. I have not been able to find that out yet, at least not in any kind of reliable way. But whoever they are, whoever he or she is, a huge thank you to them for making this, because it's just genius, and I think it's one of the best things that Comme des Garcons have given us for years. We need more rhubarb perfume, says Kim. Yeah, maybe we do. And this one certainly does have a rhubarby feel to it, but It's bizarrely beetroot. Okay, if you haven't tried it, it's peppery, rooty, earthy, juicy beetroot. You know, you can immediately start seeing, if you've ever tried peeling or chopping up beetroot, maybe if you tried making borscht, you know how it makes your fingers go red, like you've just stepped off the set of Hitchcock's Psycho. But also what makes it fascinating is that somehow that beetroot note has been linked to a superb incense facet, a frankincense facet, and you kind of think, how on earth is this going to work? And yet it works brilliantly. This has also got a good helping of resinous balsamic notes in the base, which is, I guess, maybe the thing that makes it work fantastically in hot weather. Interesting as a summer choice, says Cole. See, all of these, to some extent, I think I want you to go, that's interesting for a summer choice. And I deliberately wore this a few days ago, and Madame Persolaise immediately went, what is that? That smells amazing on you. It's fantastic. I actually wear Comme Des Garcons too during the summer, says VBS. Aldehydes, tea, and some white florals. White florals are amazing in the summer, and we might get to some white florals, maybe, not saying anything. And Rouge, like the best Comme des Garçons perfumes, manages to be extremely naturalistic in the sense that it feels as though it's come of the earth, from the earth, and yet it's got a fantastically sci-fi quality. There's something completely otherworldly about it as well. And smelling, and I mean, see, I can't get past the beetroot here on paper. On skin, the beetroot isn't quite so marked. It's not quite so in your face, but it's amazing anyway. Oh, Otis says, hello, Mr. P. Having recovered from COVID just this morning, this stream is a much welcome piece of escapism. Sending you best wishes. I hope you make a complete and comprehensive recovery. White florals, please, especially gardenia, says Philatelic Cafe. And people communicating with each other about various things. Well, but I'll leave that conversation to you. And I wonder if it's the ginger, the fizziness of the ginger, that's the connection between the beetroot and the incense. And absolutely, when other people are going around with their lemons and their grapefruits, you can go around and be fantastically red. Didn't Atelier do a beetroot one recently as part of the Jardin collection? How do they compare? Oh, I didn't know that Atelier Cologne did that one. My favorite summer scent, though I turn to it year-round for certain moods, says Stacey, is Chanel number 18. I have a few drops left of the EDT. That would be a really good one as well, because, of course, it's a great rose. And I'm just trying to think of a way to... I suppose the way that you could connect this with summer is of thinking of a blood red sun. This is the smell of a really hauntingly huge, stunning sunset, when the sun goes all sorts of colors that you don't normally see it going. And yeah, so there you go. This is an alternative summer as seen through the prism of a huge, fantastic sunset. Sounds like the Empire of the Sun poster, says Gavin. Very good. I don't rate the film particularly, but it's a superb book. Absolutely recommend the book. In fact, I remember teaching that book at GCSE level to a really great group. Well, I hope they got as much out of the book as I did, but it's a great book to read and a great book to teach. I love that film, Sacrilege, says Gavin. Oh, okay, well, we can discuss that one later. Anyway, moving on. So let's go from red. Somebody mentioned rose, so let's do the rose. Let's do the overt rose that I've got here. But this is also rose with a little bit of a twist. This is a rose that took me a while to appreciate. So this is from 2019, composed by Antoine Lee, from the brand Les Indemodables. This is Rose de Jamal, named after an actual living, breathing, real life proper person called Jamal, because it is from his plot of land that the rose that's used in this comes from. That's why it's his rose. It's Jamal's rose. I don't want to get this wrong, but I'm pretty sure that the rose field in question is in Morocco. Now, what do I mean when I say that it took me a while to get this rose, to understand this rose? Yeah. And see, of course, now when that happens, when the penny finally drops and you get a perfume, you struggle to understand why you didn't get it straight away from the beginning. Rose de Jamal says, Rich Mitch is one of the best smelling fragrances I own. And coming from you, that is praise indeed. Meanwhile, DJ is at the gym and can't watch right now. Will catch replay. Much love. Yeah, you don't want to be like those people in the gym who's supposed to spend 30 seconds on the machine and then 5 minutes on their phone and then another 30 seconds on the machine and five minutes on their phone. So what's the twist here? This is, at its heart, a beautiful, multifaceted, compelling, absorbing, highly, highly naturalistic rose. But that's what it is at its heart. At its top, it's extremely minty. And I think that's the bit that takes you a while to get your head around. Kim says rose with mint. Absolutely. And because I adore rose, and I really, really do adore rose. I mean, it doesn't come as a surprise for you to hear that, that a perfume geek likes rose. But I suppose if a perfume calls itself a rose perfume, that immediately sets up a certain sort of expectation in my head. And the first few times I smelt this, I thought, well, this isn't all that rosy. This seems to be doing a kind of fresh thing. This seems to be doing a kind of almost fizzy, vibrant, heading towards green, chewing gummy, toothpastey thing. But then I realized that that is actually the bit that I needed to accept, that the whole point of this rose is to make a rose that is very, very deliberately trying to gear itself towards more traditionally masculine fragrance codes. So, take something like Frederic Malle's Geranium pour Monsieur, which takes the geranium and takes a fairly traditional fougere structure, but amps up the mintiness in an effort to make the whole thing more clean and more masculine in a kind of 21st century modern way. This is doing the same with rose. And once you get that, once you accept that what you're not going to get here is a rose soliflora, and once you accept what it's trying to do, you realize the genius of it. It's supremely summery. I mean, okay, I suppose technically roses are spring flowers because they tend to bloom usually in May, but it depends on which part of the world you're in, because of course, like I was recently in Oman and the roses were blooming there in April. But I don't think roses are generally summer scents, and yet it's the mintiness that somehow makes it sunnier, warmer, and yet fresher at the same time. Benji says, going to get my sample now. I want the penny to drop too. Yeah, I had to wear it a few times. I actually had to wear it, and then it took the brand founder to explain the idea of the perfume to me, and that's when I thought, oh yes, okay, it does do the thing that the founder says it's trying to do. Angela says Rose de Jamal is lovely and very interesting, as I remember. Must revisit my sample set. Miriam Florence says, I wouldn't call it a summer scent, however. Radical Rose is so good in the summer. It's my scent of the day. Greetings from Firenze. Hello to you. Is there any similarity to you or someone like you with that minty green rose aspect, says Cole? Now, you see, I don't think of you or someone like you from Etat Libre, which I really like as well. I don't think of that as being all that rosy. This is more traditionally rosy at its heart. Whereas for me, the Etat Libre is greener, more citrusy. But yeah, an interesting comparison. Yeah, I could probably just do the whole episode smelling this. Certainly one of the most interesting different roses out there. So we're already at the 20-minute mark. We need to move on. Now, curiously, weirdly, somebody I saw, I think it's gone off my screen now. Oh no, here we go. Paul Selection says, from Histoires de Parfum. This is not a blue bottle 1.3, has a beautiful mix of rose, saffron, and blood orange, refreshing and long-lasting. Well, it's funny you should say that, because for a brand that we don't talk about very much on this channel, I've actually brought along, this is not a blue bottle 1.2. So, go figure. Who saw that one coming? So this is a range that the brand have done. So the brand is Histoires de Parfum. I don't know if you'll be able to make that out there, right there. Don't worry. All of the names of the perfumes with timestamps will eventually make their way to the video description below. And they've done a range which come in blue bottles, and the range is called This Is Not a Blue Bottle, and it has a French name as well. So Ceci n'est pas un flacon bleu, and then they have a number, and this is 1.2. This is, out of all of these, maybe the most overtly summery one, but then I don't know. What I find fascinating, well, the twist with this one is that the brand make no bones of the fact that it is entirely synthetic, which I always find it fascinating when brands actually come out and say, yeah, we made a completely synthetic perfume. And when you find out that it's completely synthetic, that doesn't come as a surprise when you smell it. And yet, there is also a lot in there that makes you think, oh, if somebody had told me that it contains a bit of natural this, that, and the other, I probably would have believed that as well. Those of you out there who have tried Frederic Malle's En Passant, composed by Olivier Jacobetti, sort of try and call that one to your minds. That is not here today, because even though I adore that scent, as many of you will know, that to me is a more overtly, traditionally, obviously summer scent. But that perfume tries to convey the smell of lilacs and freesias and lily of the valley as though they're caught on the wind. This is a similar kind of thing, except in a quirky, strange, synthetic way. So that even though, as you're smelling it, you get the Muguet Accord, you get the Lily of the Valley Accord, you get lilacs and freesias, but you also get something that makes you think, hang on, is it Lily of the Valley chewing gum? Or is it lilac chewing gum? And it's cute, and feels like it could be a summer on, you know, the dark side of some asteroid, where the park that the inhabitants of the asteroid have created is being lit by huge garish floodlights. And yet at the same time, it feels as though it could be earthbound as well. I actually wore it today because I thought, let's give it one more wearing in preparation for this video. And what I enjoy about it is its subtlety. It is a perfume that I personally like to spray quite a lot of when I wear it, because I want to be able to be aware of the fact that I'm smelling it. But again, we're not overly concerned with compliments on this channel, but lots and lots of people said, oh my goodness, what is that? You smell amazing today. Stephanie says, I just sprayed 1.2. I smell candy-ish. Yes, absolutely. There is that kind of fake but addictive, sugary candy type thing going on. There's somewhere the kind of intersection between candied sweets and flowers. So if you think of sort of sugared petals, crystalline sugared petals, sounds like the original Comme des Garcons, says Eric. Ooh, I don't know, maybe it does. It's really, really intriguing. And I think if you wanted to do an alternative summer thing, but maybe not all-out alternative, like the Comme des Garcons, like the Rose, you wanted to sort of project more traditional summery notes, but with a kind of strange, unpin-downable twist to them, I think this would be the one to go for. It's a very, very, very deceptively weird perfume, because each time you think that you've worked it out and you think, oh yes, 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 it's just a bunch of sort of delicate white florals, and then something else comes along to throw the mix, you know, like sort of fizzy, gummy sweets, very, very kind of tart, sherbety type sweets. It is interesting. It is interesting. And for something that is so subtle. Oh, Benji, the penny has dropped for Benji. Ladies and gents, the penny has dropped live in this episode. Benji, we're very, very pleased for you. Now just pick it up again and don't lose it. The penny, he wants to let us know twice that the penny has dropped. Do you like the perfume a bit more now? If you do, then we're very, very glad to have been of service. Oslam says, I'm more into winter perfumes. I use number 5 or Dior Addict as a summer fragrance. Don't know if I missed the point. Of course you didn't miss the point. The point is you just enjoy what you know what you want to wear. Otis says, is the sweet candy smell wearable enough? Anything too sweet and I feel like a walking candy floss machine. Well, I wore it today and I was happy wearing it. Must revisit the blue bottles again, methinks, says Angela. Yes, I think you should as well. Let's move on. What should we do next? It turns out, having looked at my list, that I've actually got 2 by the same perfumer. So maybe we should do one of the ones by this chap. He is a perfumer with whom I automatically associate summer. I think he has actually made some of the best summer perfumes out there. And a lot of them are also actually not very, very obviously, overtly summery. One of my favorites, you're going to know who it is now, one of my favorites that he's made, Jardin sur le Nil for Hermès, I think is amazing. And I have to take it away with me wherever I'm going every single summer. But it's not here today. Number 1, because I suppose its fruity, citrusy aspect is that doesn't quite kind of fit our parameters here. But also number 2, because I have talked about it on this channel a lot. He is, of course, the one and only Monsieur Jean-Claude Ellena. But the first of the 2 perfumes of his that I want to show you here today is from 2019 from the brand Perris Monte Carlo. This is one that we talked about a little while ago on this channel, I think. And this is his Jasmin. It's called Jasmin de Pays. Hermès is best, says Lyndon. Actually, Hermès probably as a brand, if you look at them as a totality of a brand, it's they're the summariest of brands. But I haven't got a single Hermès on this channel because, on this video, because again, I just wanted to do something different. But you know, you could look. They've got all of those fantastic colognes, like the grapefruit one, the narcissus one. Apparently, another one coming soon that I saw on the internet, the purple basil, I think it's going to be called. But yeah, no Hermès because we wanted to just shake things up a little bit. So this is Jasmin de Pays from Jean-Claude Ellena. Just the most beautiful white floral, perfect for warmer weather, I think. Oh, and somebody mentioning Calandre from Paco Rabanne as an alternative summer scent. That would be a good one. I mean, that's a nice aldehydic rose, basically, kind of aldehydic metallic rose. That would work fantastic. Cèdre Sambac is incredible in heat. There you go. That's from Christine Nagel, of course. Let's smell this one. This is I still remember the first time I smelt this, which I think was at a branch of Fenwick, or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was in France. I can't remember. But wherever it was just me randomly walking through a shop and picking up a bottle that said Jasmine, because I'm a sucker for Jasmine. So I thought, well, let's just smell it. And then I just did this. Oh my goodness, what the heck have I just smelled? Because it is just so hyper photo real, and jasmine is the smell of summer in many ways. So it's weird how so many summer perfumes are citrusy and green, because actually in a way they should be jasmine-y, shouldn't they? Or maybe they should be tuberosy. Hang on for a sec. It just does that kind of funkiness of the jasmine really well. It does that weirdly sticky banana-like feel of the jasmine really well. The pepperiness of it, the greenness of it, of course, the aqueousness of it, and that way that jasmine seems to hover over both life and death. The indolic aspects of jasmine and white florals are, of course, the thing that seem to make them as deadly as they are life-giving and life-affirming, and that has been brought to the fore fantastically by Jean-Claude Ellena and this perfume. There's a kind of saline, salty, suntan lotiony, hot skin thing happening here too. Eric says, how would you compare it to À la Nuit? Oh, now there's a question. Maybe one day we ought to do a side-by-side. How would I compare it to À la Nuit? I think À la Nuit, from Serge Lutens, by the way, in case somebody doesn't know, has got a greener, sharper, more synthetic opening. It's a hard question to answer because I'm going purely from memory here, and I ought to do a side-by-side maybe and pop an answer in the video description below. But I think À la Nuit maybe is sweeter, whereas this seems to veer more towards the smokier, more tobacco-like facets of Jasmin. You know, the facets that were also exploited to the full in Etat Libre d'Orange's Jasmin and Cigarettes. But it's a good question, yeah, one for me to think about. Okay, let's label this one because we've only done 4 and we've gone over the half-hour mark. And we mustn't let the videos last longer than an hour, as we know. That's one of our rules. I think we should go from father to daughter, and from 2006 we should do From the Different Company, composed by Céline Ellena, Jean-Claude Ellena's daughter. This is Celle de Vetiver. Okay, I know there will be lots and lots of fans of this one out there, and it doesn't matter how long I've held onto this bottle, I always forget how you undo these different company bottles now. I checked on the website, I checked on the website, and this one is still part of the range. You have included, oh, hang on, what Natasha is asking a question. You've included it in a list of previous years, but a very refreshing and outdoorsy scent for summer is Erba Fresca from the Aqua Allegoria line. Yes, absolutely, but there's no way I was going to include it in this one because that, you know, that is really, really supremely green. Again, Erba Fresca is one that I wouldn't be without. Celle de Vetiver is a fascinating scent because, again, regular viewers will know that I have trouble with aquatic scents. Not banana, says Eric from L'Artisan. That's a good one, actually. That's a really good, a surprisingly good scent. Anyway, Celle de Vetiver is one of very, very few aquatic opening scents that I actually find palatable, more than palatable. I think its opening is genius. The way, and I haven't smelt it for ages. See, this is such a rare case, at least to my nose, to my mind, of a scent really convincingly somehow managing to pull off the feel of sea spray, of sea air. Celle de Marin is the only other aquatic I'll wear, says Kim. That's from Healy, is that right? Or correct me if I'm wrong. Why do so many of us have difficulty with aquatics, says Nubianet? It's an interesting question. I mean, I think it's because we just don't find them convincing. I think it's one of those notes that perfumery has yet to nail really convincingly. Some scents do it. This is one of them, but a lot of the time, through the overuse of materials like cologne, it just doesn't work. It really just doesn't work, and our noses don't buy it. Our noses are not convinced. But this is great, and then immediately that rootiness of the vetiver starts coming through. I mean, it is definitely a vetiver scent, okay? And that word cell in the name is just so perfect because it does bring out the salty, ionic, iodic, savory aspects of the sea. I feel like Ombre Suprême is an aquatic blue fragrance, or at least has overtones of one, says Rich Mitch. Do you mean from Les Indemodables? Interesting. Yeah, actually, I wouldn't disagree with you. I think there were just too many terrible aquatics, says Eric. Always says melon or cucumber to me. Yes, it's all of those sorts of things, and we just don't work. They just don't work. I mean, for me, still, I think Calvin Klein Escape for Men is again one of very, very few scents that make me physically gag. You know, there are not many smells that do that. Sécrétion Magnifique doesn't really do that to me, but Escape from Men does. I just couldn't take it. Hate that melon smell, says Angela. And yet we probably love the smell of melons, right? So if a perfume was able to capture the smell of melons convincingly, we would probably have a very, very different response to it. But Celle de Vetiver, there is just something so beautifully crumpled white linen suit and Panama hat about it. So after you've witnessed your Comme des Garcons Rouge sunset and the sun goes down even more, you change to your beautifully, gorgeously crumpled white linen suit and you decide to go for a walk along the seafront, and maybe you might stop for a drink at the end, or maybe not. You will just see where the moment takes you. I'm thinking something called Viking Cologne made you gag too, says Prashant. Yes, maybe that one did as well. But the way it sort of flows from the top to the middle to the base is just so beautifully done. And yet, despite all of the heaviness of the Vetiver, it manages to remain fresh and breezy and windswept. Yeah, really, really nice work. And I was very, very pleased to see that it's still on the Different Company website. Okay, we are finally at the halfway mark. What should we do next? What should we do next? By the way, any guesses? Any guesses? Remember what I said at the start of the video? I said that there are no perfumes in this one from the 20th century. However, not all of them are from the 21st century. So I want to know what you think the solution to that little conundrum is. I think we should go. Okay, we've mentioned this brand a few times already, so let's do this one. This is from you guys are too good. I've just seen the comments coming through. Okay, I'm not saying anything more. Where am I? Where's the... Okay, so this is from 2006 from Monsieur Antoine Maisondieu, who used to work quite a lot with Antoine Lee at this particular brand. So this from Etat Libre d'Orange. This is Antihero. I suppose in French it's Antiheros, I think. I guess we wouldn't pronounce the final S. And this one is probably the one that fits the parameters for this video the least. But I thought, no, okay, we can have it, because even though it is a lavender composition, one of the most underrated lavenders out there, it is a lavender composition. So I suppose that kind of starts taking it into green territory. But I don't think we normally consider lavender to be a green note. It is an aromatic note, and so that's why I thought, okay, well, let's just go with it. But yeah, it's so good. We don't talk about this one enough. We really, really don't talk about this one enough. Oh, you're still wondering. I'll put some of you out of your misery. Most of you are right about what the one is from the 19th century. Okay, so well done. I didn't think you would be stumped for long. So it is a kind of straight through and through lavender. Etat Libre d'Orange's Antihero. But it's interesting to put it into the context of some other straight up and down lavender. So the first one that comes to mind, obviously, is Pour un homme de Caron, which takes lavender and puts it on that kind of beautifully caramelized vanilla base. Another really, really good lavender, of course, is Chanel's Bois, which I suppose has more of an haute couture feel to it, in the sense that it's a little bit more faceted, a little bit less artful than this one. Otto Parisi's Mega Mare is one of the most unusual summer scents, says Spaced Out. Interesting. And people still talking about the pebble bottles. Anyway, you carry on talking about the pebble bottles. But so Antihero from Etat Libre d'Orange just ticks all of the lavender boxes perfectly. So it's got its fantastic aromatic aspects, it's got the green aspects, it's got a suggestion of something that's camphoraceous, medicinal. We've got a lavender growing beautifully in the garden right now, and whenever I can, I try to take some of the flowers and crush them and smell them. There is a side of lavender that is almost evil, almost sort of bared claws, because it can be quite sharp with its camphoraceousness. It can be quite, I don't want to say acrid, but that kind of thing. It needs to be judged very, very carefully. And Antihero is just the most perfect name for this one, because it's the distinguished gent. It's somebody who doesn't want to attract too much attention to himself or herself, and yet goes and gets the job done and gets everything sorted, solves people's problems, but doesn't want any of the kudos, doesn't want any of the limelight or the glamour, and it just works. And we don't mention it enough. I noticed that people don't seem to be writing very much about it. Is that because you don't know it? I was thinking I might need a big bottle of Bois this summer, says Eric. Yeah. And Cole says, sounds wonderful. Need to check that out. I love a straight up lavender. Yes. An unsung hero, appropriately enough, for something called Antihero. Maybe they should have just called it Hero, and then people would have been more interested in it. And then I guess it starts doing a bit more of a fougere thing compared to the Caron. So whereas the Caron definitely starts tending towards sweetness, this one, I guess, is becoming a little bit mossier now, a bit more hairy-chested, which is interesting for something called Antihero. I remember when Eleanor released Brun de Réglisse, says Eric, he mentioned fractional distillation of lavender to get out the off notes. Yes, you're right. And I think I did a transcript of an interview that he gave in London years ago where he talked about that. He thought that there was a note in lavender which was Uranus, or as he said, like pee, which sent the PRs into a frenzy at that particular event, I seem to remember. But yeah, it has got something just ever so slightly off-putting, but also fantastically compelling. Okay. I think seeing as you've all guessed what the 19th century one is, I think we should just do it. And also there is a link between that one and what the one we've just talked about. So of course, from 1889, the oldest fragrance that is still in existence, still in production, it is the one and only Jicky, in a not particularly attractive bottle, but this is, what did they call this presentation? I think it was called the Habit de Fête. Do you remember those not terribly high quality plastic gold cases that you put these into? This is from that range. This is the EDP. It's a 50 ml EDP, as you can see here, but you can see what the bottles look like. If you can get it, oh, nice one. I like what you did there, Angela. That's a good one. That shows you're paying attention. If you can get it in the extrait, it is, of course, divine in the extrait, but I like it in pretty much any form. And why do I say that it has a connection with the Etat Libre d'Orange? Because, of course, it also plays heavily on the power of lavender. It is it is a great fougere in many ways. Jicky is wonderful animalic garden smell, says Herb. I will never, ever forget once in a kind of naughty mode, not that that happens very often, of course, because I'm never naughty, spraying this in a shop and giving the blotter to Madame Persolaise and saying, smell this. And she said, oh, that's got that poo stuff in it, hasn't it? Because at its best, Jicky has just got the most growling, purring civet note, which takes us right back towards the beginning of this video when somebody mentioned Kouros. I suppose Jicky for the summer makes sense in the same way that Kouros does for the summer. I mean, they're quite dissimilar perfumes in many ways as well, but you can see that the appeal of them as a summer scent comes from a very similar place. My puppy Jicky has heard his name. Jicky, here, Jicky. What's he doing? I have no... So hang on. Oslam says, I have to buy Jicky tomorrow. Just smelled it once, though. Okay. Maybe you don't have to. Maybe give it a thought. Thoughts on Tom of Finland by Etat Libre for summer? I love it, but it's not on the list here. But it's just one of my favorites from Etat Libre. So what is Jicky? So Jicky is an extremely complex scent in the way that we would expect those classic 19th century and early 20th century Guerlains to be. So there is a lot going on here, tons and tons of herbal notes, tons and tons of aromatic notes. But I suppose if there is a sort of overarching theme that you want to pick out, It would be the lavender, it would be the civet note, it would be a rose-like note, and then something subtly sweetly vanillic in the base. I mean, this stuff is amazing in that it somehow manages to smell of the past and yet completely of the present as well. There is nothing old-fashioned about it. It is extraordinary. It is extraordinary as an accomplishment. To think that it is now well over 100 years old. I wonder if it was actually seen as quite shocking when it came out. I wonder if people just couldn't cope with it because it was too faceted and Jicky is outrageously exciting and fun, says Lynn. I find it sort of rude in the best way, says Herb. Yes, absolutely. I mean, that civet note does not hold back. And when you get it, when you see it, you can't unsmell it in a way. But it's also kind of what you love wearing about it. And of course, on skin, it completely comes to life in the most gorgeous, fantastic way. And what I'm getting now, smelling it, is almost like a kind of carnation note, which I suppose could be cloves, could be the spiciness. It's just fantastic. And I do tend to reach for it when the weather is warmer, and yet you wouldn't think of it as being a summery scent overtly, obviously. So there you go. Well guessed to those of you who guessed it. We have only got 3 to go. And just in case you've tuned in now, what we are doing is a top 10 for summer 2022, but alternative summer scents. So not the kind of scents that you would normally associate with summer. So no overt citruses, no overt greens, nothing that is very, very obviously, predictably light and airy and fresh. Okay. Cole says, I always thought that those rude notes were more commonplace in the 18th century, and so not so shocking. Yes, you're absolutely right. I think you're right. So, for example, something like Hammam Bouquet comes to mind from Penhaligon's, although that has been massively, massively reformulated. But I guess maybe what I mean is in terms of complexity. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe people, when this came out, maybe people thought it was extremely tame. I don't know. So let's move on. And we've been talking a little bit about white florals, and I said, watch out, there is another white floral coming. And I couldn't ignore this because I love wearing this in the summer. I don't have it in its proper bottle. This is in the 10ml travel bottles, but from 2005 by the one and only Monsieur Dominique Ropion. This is Carnal Flower from Frederic Malle. This is when you want to do summer without holding back at all, because a lot of you will be aware the spray is not working. Why is the spray not working? Do not tell me that my spray is not working on... How do you fix this dodgy spray? Oh, gosh, I don't want to break, because these bottles are delicate. No, it's not going to happen, folks. Look at how much I've got left. How am I meant to get this out? No laughing emoji to be found. Maybe we need to do the poking the needle thing in there. Right, if I squeezed, it's not doing it. I'm going to cry. I have too much Carnal Flower left in this. Good. Oh, hang on. I think we got something just then, or maybe that was wishful thinking on my part. Okay, if it doesn't work, I will just be able to describe it from memory to you, because that's how well I know it. What's happened though? Do you think I should write to Lauder and say, please can you replace my Carnal Flower? No, I don't think it's going to happen, folks, and I don't want to squeeze too hard because I've broken more than one of these 10ml. The nozzle is dry. We'd understand if you cry, don't break the bottle, you will smell like a Triffitt, says yeah. Okay. Oh, but already some of the smell is coming through. So let's just pop that on here. Okay, so this is, quite simply, I think, one of the greatest tuberoses ever made. Certainly one of the greatest tuberoses of the 21st century. Get a hammer. No. or maybe a hammer or something with a funnel so that I can just catch the liquid as I'll have to do something like that probably, won't I? Sort of try and do a controlled detonation thing. Try pressing it quickly, repeatedly. No, I'm not touching it now. I'm not touching it. Maybe sort of poke a needle into the nozzle. But what's fantastic about Carnal Flower is okay. So it does that kind of coconut note thing that you expect from tuberose. A lot of people who know tuberose very well have actually said that they don't think that it represents the flower particularly convincingly, but I just have to disagree with them. My main experience of tuberose is from garlands that you see in India. And to me, it is absolutely just the smell of those garlands. And it is so insanely intoxicating and heady. So it does, tuberose is like a white floral on steroids, right? So all of those things that you get from jasmine and from ylang ylang, so that kind of tobacco-like note, the banana note, the indolic notes, they're all just amped up to the max in tuberose, together with a kind of coconut facet, maybe a honeyed facet, and just this feeling of Cruella de Vil allure. If we could imagine Cruella de Vil being alluring, if you could think of an attractive Cruella de Vil, that is tuberose for me, and all of that and then some is captured in Carnal flower, and it's just placed on this extraordinary, incredible bed of musks. I don't know how Ropion achieved this, but somehow he did, probably through the exacting direction of Monsieur Frederic Malle. And it's just genius. It is just genius. And again, not that we are overly concerned about compliments, but every single time I wear it, interestingly, in the sort of perfume circles, either people recognize it and they go, oh my God, that's Carnal flower, but it smells so interestingly different on you. Or they say, what the heck is that? That smells amazing. And if people don't recognize it, they never ever sort of say, why are you wearing a what may be termed a kind of feminine floral perfume. But I'm really annoyed by that. I have got two more. Actually, I'm just being an idiot because I've brought the whole thing. Look, we should, let me see if another one of them is working. Because if they're not, then I'm going to be really annoyed. Do you think they've all just died on me? I can't believe I forgot that they were here. Yes, we have Carnal flower, people. We have Carnal flower. This one's upsetting. And what a fantastic name for it. I mean, it really is kind of like, who needs the beach when we could just spend the whole day in the hotel room? It lives, says Herb. Absolutely. And it's smelling quite solar here. It's reminding me a little bit of Angela, I've just read your comment. It's making me think of the kind of naughtier, honeyed aspects of Tom Ford's Soleil Brûlant, which Madame Persolaise was wearing the other day, and which really, really works extremely well on her. Okay, so at least we managed to have a spray, because I put my idiot brain aside and remembered that I had those other bottles there. Okay, we need to be done in the next 6 minutes. So let us do the other one by Monsieur Elena. And this one really isn't a very overtly summary one. I just need to show you the box, okay? Because you can just about make out that he signed the box. I think I've shown this to you before. So from L'Artisan Parfumeur, this is Bois Farine from 2003. Just extraordinary. As you know, I love this stuff. Very, very definitely, I think, inspired by the likes of Après Landais, which also then went on to inspire L'Hiver for Frederic Malle. Just so good. It's the smell of flour, as in Flour, the stuff that some of us keep in the larder. And so it's bready and nutty and savory and roasted, but it's flowery. So it's woody flower, right? And it's got that woody thing to it as well. One of the most original things ever composed, I think. It says, Herb says, I'm allergic to peanuts, so it feels like an anaphylactic shock to me. Really? I mean, are you being, as in, like, smelling it, does that start triggering you in a way? This is a serious question. I sold my Bois Farine, says Time to Musk Up. I can't smell like peanut butter oil. Gosh, do you really think it smells like that? To me, it really is much more like roasted flour. I mean, I suppose there is maybe a kind of peanutty thing happening there, but not overly so. I adore it. Eric says peanutty to me. Interesting, interesting. I suppose it depends on which bit of it, which bit of it you latch onto, he said. And then that's what you kind of start focusing on. But I've always just seen it as a woody farine, flour note. The smell of Paul Hollywood, says Gavin. Huh, funny you should say that with my spoonerism from earlier. Yeah, not watershed yet, says Benji. I know, it was a mistake, okay? It was at least it's not like Jim Knockerty and Jeremy Hunt, the culture secretary. Look that up on YouTube if you don't know what I'm talking about. So Bois Farine from look, you're all shocked now, but I'm blushing. Bois Farine from L'Artisan, and then finally, again, I think another underrated perfume, another underrated piece of work, and I wish it got had a more love from the great and discerning buying public. This is from where is it on my list? From 2016, composed by Mathilde Laurent. This is the original EDP of Cartier's L'Envol. From the moment I smelt it, I thought it was really special. I must confess, I did wonder how well it was going to do, because I thought, is this going to be a little bit too challenging for some people? But I did actually think that ultimately it would do okay. Look, it's almost as tall as the tallest building in the world. Beautiful Cartier, says Jeannie. That honey, yes, exactly. I mean, it's amazing, and the fact that it was, I was hoping for a honey scent, says Gavin. There you go. And this, yes, it's honeyed, but it's also got that kind of herbal aromatic feel to it. It's gorgeously sticky, isn't it? It's and yet somehow manages to be spicy and translucent, and sort of soapy in that kind of barbershop way, maybe in the style of some sort of old school fougères. Do check it out, and I should wear it more often. Actually, the thing is that the bottle that I've got is the refillable one, which it isn't the most travel carryable, portable is the word I'm looking for. Thank you. Let's just label the blotter here, but smells slightly minty to me, says exactly Lyndon. Yes, yeah, I would go along with that, absolutely. And Mathilde Laurent does love a mint note, see lots of her other work, including like Cartier's Roadster, lots and lots of other things. Violet and Honey says host beef is L'Envol. Yeah, absolutely. The violet note is in there as well. Okay, so we need to stop. Thank you very much for watching. If you're watching the recording, feel free to leave a comment, ask a question. I'm pretty confident that over the course of the next couple of weeks or so, we will get a kind of normal summer list as well. So top 10 citruses and greens and that sort of thing. But this has been our top 10 alternative summer list. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you soon. So until then, be good and don't say naughty words like Persolaise does. Take care. Bye now.